It is our moral and constitutional duty to ensure that every child in Bauchi State has access to quality education.
This is the important vision and mission of the Bauchi State Governor Senator Bala Abdulkadir Muhammad Kauran Bauchi. But then, there are some challenges facing the Nigeria's education sector, which have direct bearings on the lives of generality of the populace.
I consider it appropriate to remind all of us that the challenges facing Nigeria's educational sector are intricate and pervasive, extending beyond the borders of Bauchi State.
As we all know, education is the key to sustainable development and essential for unlocking a better future for all children.
Most of the population of our school children are in the northern part of Nigeria. Most of them.
His Excellency's commitment has borne fruits and are beginning to change our narrative.
Governor Bala Muhammad's commitment towards reviving the educational sector and addressing the challenges gave birth to the Bauchi State Education Summit 2023. Bauchi State Government, under the stewardship of His Excellency Governor Bala Muhammad, is deeply concerned about the challenges faced by the educational sector of the state. A statistic by the UNESCO has recently placed Bauchi State in Nigeria with a high number of out-of-school children.
And it is a reality that we are number one in the nation, even though we reduced the number. We reduced the number drastically from 2019 to date, but still the numbers don't change because we don't have authenticated data.
This is indeed so sad, as the government of Bauchi State has invested and is continuing to invest resources in order to improve the quality of education in the state at all levels.
Through collaboration, innovation, and a collective vision, we aim to lay the groundwork for an educational system that, while meeting today's needs, is also capable of anticipating tomorrow's demands. Bauchi State progress is intricately linked to its ability to provide all children with quality education irrespective of their circumstances.
However, with the commitment and political will of Governor Bala Muhammad to find a lasting solution geared towards improving the educational sector, the Education Summit comes handy with the theme, Nurturing a Flourishing Future, improving access and quality education in Bauchi State.
At this summit, we are looking at the issues that would proceed to nurture the future of Bauchi State, which is not possible without access and quality of education. Access to education and improving the quality. And for me, I would have added that not just nurturing, but adequately funding education is very desirable, and I believe that with the program as outlined, with the Honorable Commissioner of Education herself presenting a Swot analysis, I thought the organization of the summit, the way it chronologically proceeds, it was well placed.
The two-day Education Summit, which is under the chairmanship of Professor Suleiman Elias Agoro, former Executive Secretary of the Nigeria's Tertiary Education Trust Fund, TETFund, has in attendance high-profile personalities including the serving and former ministers of education, vice-chancellors of universities, traditional and religious leaders, as well as development partners who are critical stakeholders in the education sector. In his opening speech while declaring the summit open, Governor Bala Muhammad highlighted the key objectives which, according to him, center on effectively addressing issues unique to Bauchi State.
Assessment and analysis. To conduct a comprehensive assessment of the state of education in Bauchi State, including the number of out-of-school children, their demographics, and the impact on education due to various challenges. B. Stakeholder engagement. To convene all stakeholders, government officials, educators, parents, civil society organizations, and development partners to collaboratively address the state's education's challenges. C, policy formulation. To develop evidence-based programs, policies, and strategies towards addressing the challenges and strengthening our capacities and existing efforts. D, resource mobilization. To explore avenues for mobilizing financial and human resources to support educational programs and projects within the state. E, innovative educational infrastructure. To devise innovative strategies for creating conducive learning environments, including repairing and revitalizing schools. F, community engagement. To actively involve all stakeholders, local and external, by increasing awareness and mobilizing their support in our efforts to enhance the education sector in Bauchi State. And lastly, G, targeted interventions. To develop, discuss, and implement specific interventions and initiatives tailored to address Bauchi State's unique educational challenges.
Dr. Jamila Dahiru is the Commissioner of the Bauchi State Ministry of Education, and during the summit, she speaks about the status of education in Bauchi State, a SWOT analysis.
Let us navigate through the SWOT analysis, our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Starting up with our strengths, what is worthy of mention is the strong political will we continue to have from our visionary leader, His Excellency, the Executive Governor. Under his unwavering commitment and visionary leadership, we enjoy a resolute political will that has been demonstrated through the declaration of state of emergency to education, commitment to provision of funding, and unwavering support for educational excellence. These are evident in the various transformative initiatives exemplified by his strategic actions taken in the education sector, some of which he actually mentioned. But the state also enjoys financial stability in the education sector since the coming of His Excellency. We have an increase in the budgetary allocation to education, prompt payment of matching grants, staff salaries, and allowances. Our other strengths lie in the fact that the state has a sufficient number of senior secondary schools, availing a platform for transition and completion of education, at least at the basic level. We are also proud of the vibrant logistic efficiency and availability of resource management tools, which are deployed for the implementation of management operations like biometrics of teacher attendance at our senior secondary schools, and the quality assurance, which we newly introduced for coaching, mentoring, and monitoring of teacher performance. Supporting these trends also is the presence of our zonal and subzonal education offices across the state, which are used to facilitate administration, supervision, and support for service delivery in our schools. Amidst our strengths lies the complex hanging of demand-side barriers and socioeconomic factors. The shifting dynamics of our economy present a challenge, with market forces imposing our economy indirect costs of schooling and compelling families to struggle with opportunity cost. Specifically, factors like poverty, insecurity, weak family structures, and cultural practices continue to fuel the predicament of our out-of-school children in Bauchi State. Addressing these multifaceted factors as a barrier now become imperative. Also, within the realm of these challenges, we are confronted with the infrastructure gaps, especially in our lower basic education subsector. From the data we presented, it is evident that the nuances exist in school facilities like classrooms, wash facilities, and other teaching and learning materials. Inadequate number of science laboratories with equipment and chemicals are also limiting practical learning and hindering effective science education, especially in our higher education institutions.
However, in their separate goodwill messages, invited guests commend the Bauchi State government under the leadership of Governor Bala Muhammad for organizing the summit, which is a step forward to addressing the educational challenges in Bauchi State.
Nigeria's education system is focused on preparing its children for the responsibilities of citizenship and national development. And this can only be achieved by effort of all stakeholders. It is therefore mandatory to commend the effort of state government in choosing the theme improving access and quality of education in Bauchi State. Your concern for and proactiveness toward bridging the gaps in the education sector in your state is highly commendable. History records that you inaugurated the Bauchi State Education Committee under the leadership of His Royal Highness, the Emir of Bauchi State, Dr. Rulwano Adamu, to address the menace of out-of-school children syndrome and poor learning outcomes. The continuous teacher capacity building, the promotion of all teachers in the state, your approval for recruitment of additional teachers to support teaching and learning, renovation and construction of more schools, and the payment of examination fees of students mentioned, but a few, all attest to your passion to ensure a literate, vibrant, educated Bauchi State.
Our project wants to really acknowledge the effort of His Excellency in his strive to improving quality of education. And it gladdens our hearts because one of the key sectors that state to state is working on is education, health. We're also working in the area of health and then water and sanitation.
And at UNICEF, we are very committed to see that we support the Bauchi State and all the indicators that we are seeing in the mixed report, it will change. And permit me also to inform the key stakeholders that are in this hall. As a result of the committee, that is the Bauchi State Education Committee, inaugurated by the Executive Governor of Bauchi State, we have seen the impact of what the committee is doing. Because of recent, we have a data of over 30,000 learners that were enrolled back as a result of this recent enrollment drive campaign, which is a very huge achievement for the state. And we believe this gathering will be a very good step for all of us, where we can come up with a roadmap that will shift the Bauchi State education. Thank you very much, and I wish us a very grateful celebration.
The theme of this summit, improving access and quality education in Bauchi State, is very befitting to achieving the SDGs in Goal 4 on quality education, which is arguably one of the most important of all the United Nations SDGs, because achieving the other goals is hinged on it.
Coming back to the objectives of the summit as outlined by Governor Bala Muhammad, which are assessment and analysis, stakeholder engagement, policy formulation, resource mobilization, innovative educational infrastructure, community engagement, and targeted intervention. To achieve these noble objectives as outlined by Governor Bala Muhammad, therefore, there is the need for a collaborative effort by the various stakeholders present at the summit. During the technical section, however, papers were presented as well as panel discussion which center around 5 thematic areas, which are enhancing equitable access and quality of education in Bauchi State, human capital development in education, partnership for educational development, financing of education in Bauchi State, and innovative strategies for educational development.
We cannot improve access and other quality issues in education until we look at this particular issue. The first is professional and technical approach in the management of education. Who is in charge? We really have to take care and ensure that proper persons are in control so that they know exactly what to do. Nigeria has a lot of commitment to education. The government and people of Nigeria have always recognized the importance of education through national development. This we have seen in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and also in the National Policy on Education. Section 18, subsection 1 of the Constitution says government shall direct its policy towards ensuring that there are equal and adequate educational opportunities at all levels. This is in the Constitution. In subsection 3 of the same Constitution, it further provides that government shall strive to eradicate illiteracy, and to this end, government shall, as and when practicable, provide a, take note, free, compulsory, and universal primary education, free secondary education, free university education, and free adult literacy program. This is in our constitution. Whether we are following or we are not following is a different thing.
The key term today is partnership, collaboration, coordination, and communication. These are the terms that can open doors. I started by saying the issue of partnership, collaboration, and cooperation and teamwork is critical and important in the educational sector. We all know the burden in the sector. And educational partnership simply means what? Educational partnership is a form of unification, support, and assistance for formal education influences to ensure quality education. But the question is, why do we even partner in education? Why do we need to partner? Quality education is expensive, is extensive, is expansive, and it requires multiple partners to deliver. It's not enough to discuss about partnership, but it's also important for us to be able to identify who are some of the reliable and credible partners that we can work with. Of course, the first level is government. Government, through its agencies, can act as reliable partners both at the local and at the international level. And we have had situations where governments of several countries have been giving scholarships to Nigerians to go to their countries and study. That cannot be possible without having the concept of partnership in existence.
But who benefits from educational partnership? The school benefits from educational partnership. Families benefit from partnership. Students also, teachers, administrators, how do they benefit from this? Better communication among all parties, improve student discipline, reduce school violence, better acceptance and understanding of diverse students and their families.
What is the path for the Bauchi state government? And I think the first thing is to maximize the current opportunities with the federal government program. The Honourable Minister has given a roadmap to His Excellency the Governor. I've had the opportunity to look at that roadmap. It's very comprehensive, it's very good, and I think it's something that every state government should try to key in and create that momentum. UBEC is still there with its education agile, and then the issue of increasing the enrollment. I mean, the Royal Highnesses have been doing a very good job of mobilizing the community, which is something that should be raised to a higher level.
The demand for funding for education is without doubt obvious. It is massive, it is huge, it is monumental. With the challenges that we've noted and the pattern of expenditure, we need to take a number of measures going forward. And the first is that we need to review upwards the percentage of educational funding in the budget, all things being equal. Second is we need to agitate as subnationals for increased funding for education from the federal government, from a mere 16.22%, maybe 20, 30, or even 40%, Your Excellency. Then we need to make greater effort to access international development organizations in view of the low level of contribution that I have highlighted. And I think, a stronger multilateral and partner support coordination is critical. And I must here commend His Excellency, because he has brought this to the fore. He has rechristened and given additional responsibility, for example, to the Ministry for Budget and Economic Planning to now be known as Ministry for Budget, Economic Planning and Multilateral Coordination.
Realizing the significance of the panel discussion and presentations out of which so many recommendations were made, 4 syndicate groups emerged which are tasked with the responsibility of a high-level discussion and strategies for enhancing access, quality and human capital development in education. The syndicate groups are to discuss on issues bordering on out-of-school children, chaired by Emir of Katagum, girl-child education, chaired by Emir of Bauchi, human capital development, chaired by Emir of Mesau, and Funding Education, chaired by Emir of Jama'ari. The syndicate groups discuss extensively and come up with recommendations.
Our own syndicate group is on out-of-school children, and the main highlights of our own assignment was made simple, being that the terms of reference has shown that we need to highlight, especially with the number that was being ascribed to Bauchi State in terms of the statistics on out-of-school children. First, who are the out-of-school children and at what category? The second issue is the identification and the statistics of out-of-school children, in which a certain statistics made Bauchi to have about 1.2 million of out-of-school children. The major question here is, what are the indices used in arriving at that number? What are the main causes or likely reasons why we have this number? Part of which are early marriage, poverty, rainy season, economic hardship, infrastructure and logistic issues.
So this is the submission for the group on girl child education. UNICEF supported the introduction of female teacher trainee scholarship scheme. The committee recommended for its reintroduction into the state and its strengthening, ensuring that MOUs are signed and respected. The traditional religious institutions should be given more power, especially in strengthening the integrated Quranic education, the school-based management committees, the center-based management committees, and the general cultural reorientation to respect healthy ethical gender norms. Finally, the referral pathway for GBV should be introduced across the state for quick action, and then discourage using girls for domestic works across many high-class houses instead of going to school or vocationals, and then reducing tax-related issues by providing tax incentives to indigenous publishers of education-related facilities.
Non-formal vocational education should be integrated in the system, in the school system in the state. The upgrading of educational curriculum to comply with the technical skills and entrepreneurship development both in primary and secondary school in the states. Capacity building for teachers in the states are also encouraged to be continuous. The states should consider the establishment of computer village in addition to what established by His Excellency, the Kaura ICT village in the all 19 states, so that it will enable the thousands of hundreds of youths to be employed in the sector, and it have linkages of the foreign direct investment inflow and outflow to the country and the state as general. The states are also encouraged to utilize the opportunity given by the federal government using the 3MTT program to create a platform for additional training of thousands of hundreds of youth in the states.
We started by identifying who are the key partners in terms of promotion of education in Bauchi State. And we unanimously agreed at the group level that education is a collective responsibility. The government cannot do it alone. Therefore, there are some agencies, organizations, and individuals that should or must partner with the government to ensure that all the recommendations that are being made here are fully implemented. So the first category of partners are the traditional and religious leaders. The second category is education and research institutions. The third is the private sector. The fourth is the donor agencies and NGOs. The fifth is communities and local government, particularly the LEAs. The sixth is political office holders. The seventh is parents and alumni of primary, secondary, and tertiary institutions within the state. The 8 is federal government agencies, particularly TETFund, UBEC, and Northeast Development Commission.
At the end of the summit comes implementation of roadmap, which centers on development of a clear timeline for the rollout of innovative education program, initiative and formal commitments, pledges and resolutions towards enhancing Bauchi State education.
There is nothing as important as what we are doing today. If we can fix the education sector, every other sector will be fixed. If we should fail, God forbid, no other sector is going to thrive. Not our economy, not our politics, not our families, not anything. So I think this is a point that needs to be made over and over again. Now let me also remind you very quickly, when this summit was opened, His Excellency the Governor listed the objectives, and it's time to look at them again to see how far we have gone. He talked about assessment and analysis. He talked about stakeholder engagement. He talked about policy formulation. He talked about resource mobilization. He talked about innovative educational infrastructure. He talked about community engagement. And he talked about targeted interventions. And I'm glad to say that we have engaged with all these objectives and even more. There are a lot of new ideas that have been generated by the summit. The reports of the syndicate groups are very rich. What we listened were just snippets. They are not the whole. And therefore we intend to listen to these contributions and integrate them in designing the roadmap.
The Bauchi State Governor Bala Muhammad, while giving his closing remark at the end of the summit, commended the contributions given by various participants.
What I have learned and from what has been said here, I can't learn it in any classroom. This is an array of intellectuals, professors, professionals in the field of education, and they have spoken very well, touching on issues as if they are touching our minds, making it so mundane and commonplace, making them so ordinary as if the solution are here. I like one thing about this summit, the people who came, their pedigree, their antecedents, and their capacity. I don't want to mention them by name, but certainly I believe Nigeria or northern Nigeria has a hope, because most of them are not even indigenous of Bauchi. It takes patriotism and professionalism for them to be here for 2 days. If they can be here, then why not I, who has been given the responsibility of driving the state? We have sworn to the Quran to deliver. Already, in terms of policy thrust, I think Professor Bugaji has said it all. We are coming up with the synopsis and the blueprint on where to go from the knowledge that we have gained here. But I want to say there are some few things, takeaways, that I'm highly delighted to get. We must adopt the primary school that produced us. Adopt that primary school, because I have adopted primary school Duguri from today. And the primary school that my father taught in Al-Galeri, where he met my mother to marry her, I have adopted these 2 primary schools. And I have decided that government secondary school Bauchi that has been obliterated, it will be rebuilt, inshallah. So all of you should take 1 school or 2 if you can. Thank you very much for listening.